everybody, welcome to another episode of Dungee Fishing, and welcome to the very first episode of the Dungee How To Lake Powell series. We get lots of questions about Lake Powell, and we wanted to make a series and put together something that kind of everyone can use and cover the spectrum. That person who's never even been to Lake Powell, obviously, to benefit from a series like this, and we want someone who is a veteran of Lake Powell to be able to watch some of these episodes and learn. There's literally a lifetime of information that you can learn and that you can adapt to while fishing Lake Powell. Now, this series is going to be all over the place. It's probably going to be never ending. Like I said, there's a lifetime of information, and there's techniques that we are just barely starting to scratch the surface with. So that's really exciting for us, and it'd be really fun for us to show you kind of our learning curve and learning some new techniques and things like that. So there's going to be tons of videos in this series. There's going to be videos where, again, I'm just talking to you in the boat, telling you things like that while I'm sitting in my garage. And then there's going to be videos in the series where we're actually on site at Lake Powell, showing you in the moment how a certain lure works at a certain time on a certain piece of structure. So it's going to be really fun. So with that being said, and with all that information out there, I was kind of thinking about where to start with the series. Now, I kind of boiled it down to two main points that a beginner would kind of need to figure out before they even decide or think about going to Lake Powell. So the first thing that you need to figure out before you fish Lake Powell is what species of fish you want to target, how you want to fish. Down there you have smallmouth, largemouth bass, striped bass, walleye, crappie. Those are kind of the five big ones, but then you've also got bluegill, sunfish, catfish. You can go down and target carp on the fly or shoot them with an arrow like we do. So you've got lots of options, and so you need to figure out kind of what you want to target, and then from there, once you figure out what you want to target, you can take kind of all of this massive information, and that kind of narrows that information down quite a bit. I would suggest that you target smallmouth, because that's what we do. We found it to be relatively easy and simple, and I think you get the most benefits from doing that. Because if you fish for smallmouth, it's kind of a benefactor that you can catch all these other species kind of at the same time, depending on when you go. So figure out what you guys want to target before you go. So the second thing you need to do, and it's kind of three-tiered, is to keep it simple. And what do I mean by it? I mean everything. Keep everything simple. Even once you end up, going down for a decade or so, keep everything simple. There's three things I want you to keep simple if you're starting to go to Lake Powell. Keep your expectations simple, especially on those first couple trips. Realize that, it might take some time for you to get used to how Lake Powell fishes, and just every aspect about it. I've seen people go down and it might not even be fishing that frustrates them. It might be 10 other things that really kind of doesn't meet their expectations that they had in mind, because they've seen videos, or they've seen reports of just how good it can be, and they get really frustrated and they don't end up going back. So keep your expectations about fishing Lake Powell simple. Number two is keep your location simple. And what I mean by that is Lake Powell is almost 200 miles long, and it almost has 2,000 miles of shoreline. But you don't need to go very far to catch fish at Lake Powell. You don't. You know, certainly you might want to end up that way, and it's nice to be able to travel and go primitive camp somewhere, but especially on your first few trips, you don't need to or really want to go that far. You know, you can just go a couple, 2 or 3 miles away from any of the boat ramps, and you can find fish. I promise you. We've done it plenty of times. So keep that location simple. You can camp primitively. You can camp in the campgrounds. You can stay in a hotel. Like, you can keep that location really pretty simple. Third thing you need to keep simple is your gear. Keep your gear simple. Even, you know, you can go down, we'll show you how you can go down with one rod at Lake Powell and one setup, and you can catch every single fish in the lake, even from shore at certain times. And we'll show you how to do that. You can keep your fishing gear and your camping gear, for that matter, very simple. Now, that doesn't mean that we don't want you to be prepared, because if there is somewhere you do want to be prepared, it is Lake Powell. But that doesn't mean you have to make your preparation complex. In fact, what we've found is if you kind of compress your basic needs and everything you need as simply as possible, then you're going to be happier, you're going to be more successful. You're going to kind of stick, especially fishing wise. If the more simple you make it, the harder you have to fish kind of one way. If you go down and you bring 10 rods and you bring, you know, 100 different lures, you know, your tendency might be to cast that one lure 10 times and you can keep switching. And what I found is that's not very conducive to fishing success down there. So, thanks for watching this first episode. Once we get this first episode out of the way, we can just start cranking these babies out, because it was kind of hard finding a starting point for this series. There is just so much. But once we kind of get these two things out of the way, we can just start kind of pumping out equipment, you know, lures, rods, reels, technique, structure, weather, what to look for, how to prepare, all that stuff. Really excited for that. So, thanks for watching. Hopefully we're trying to get down in a couple weeks, so be looking for that as well. If you're already a subscriber, thank you. If you've been watching our videos for a while and haven't subscribed, please do so. And thanks for watching. Give us a like. Let us know if you have any questions or suggestions, stuff you want to see now that we're actually kind of starting this series and getting it going. If there's something specific you want to see, we'll have no problem making a video that is just specific to that. Alright, thanks. We'll see you.